Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Tony Stark Iron Man, issue number 11. This is a gorgeous cover, man. You look at that, you got to figure out what it is first. You got to figure out what's going. It's like, okay, that's the chest, where the Unity, that looks like his face. Is that a cannon? That's his arm. You got to figure it out first, and then you realize just how terrifying it actually is. This is called God Killer for a reason. It's a blink and you miss it. New armor for Tony Stark. There's a good reason why it's gone. All right, let's get talking about who made the comic. Then we'll talk about the comic itself. Stark Realities Part 6, End of Service. Writers Dan Slott and Jim Zub. Artist Valerio Scheide. Color artist Edgar Delgado. Letters VC's Joe Caramagna. Cover Alexandra Lozano. And variant cover Pascal Ferry and Chris Sotomayor. The graphic designer is Carlos Lau. And of course, Iron Man was created by Stan Lee, his brother Larry Lieber, Don Heck, and Jack freaking Kirby. All right. So, this was a beautiful comic book. It's not just the cover that's beautiful. Valerio Scheide draws some amazing action, man, not just in this issue. All these issues. Valerio does an amazing freaking job. Just, boom, blowing this comic book out of the water with the action scenes. They're amazing. Now I just wish that the writing actually matched what we were reading, because I don't just want to see a big old Game of Thrones battle scene without seeing all the lead up, why all this stuff happens. Correct me if I'm wrong, but of all the comic books that I could read, Tony Stark Iron Man, regardless of my opinions on if he's actually a good guy or a bad guy, or a good guy who's on the very cusp of being a bad guy, like bypassing the vigilante, anti-hero motif entirely. Like, Tony Stark is a villain who acts like a good guy. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that. That's cool, man. I'm just looking at it the way that Stan Lee explained it, when he talked about how he created the character. That being said, this is supposed to be a thinking man's comic book. I'm supposed to be able to look at this comic book and read this comic book and sit back and use my engineering background and say, yeah, it was badass. I feel like Mark Waid. That's what we're missing on this book. I feel like we're missing Mark Waid with... I don't know how much. I'd love to be able to talk to the guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much engineering background he's got, but for the love of God, he sure as hell can research it. Like, he makes me believe that he's an engineer when he goes and writes a book. Go and check out his recent Ant-Man and the Wasp 6-issue limited series. Wow. That's all I'm saying. Wow. See, I'll say it again. I didn't get a whole lot of tech talk in this. In fact, I get the creation of the most powerful armor that Tony Stark has ever made, the God Killer, created in a panel, used like a couple panels later, and then immediately destroyed a panel after that. I don't get the point of it. But I'm still willing to give it a pass. Why? Because the Escape story is typical of an idea that I've seen with Dan Slott in recent years, the past 2 or 3 years of his writing, maybe the past 1.5 to 2 years of his writing. The man has got amazing, incredible, insanely awesome ideas, and yet somehow he writes them like he hiccuped. You know what I'm saying? These are, when you read Dan Slott books, there are way too many times that we're reading it and going, wow, what a missed opportunity that was. They're not failures in any way, shape, or form. They're spectacular, but there are a lot of near misses. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, man, you shot that apple right off my head, but I also need a haircut because you wind up scalping me. You know what I'm saying? Like, really good job, but come on, dude. He's missing a lot. And this Escape story should have been a whole hell of a lot better, but all I got out of this story, seriously, this is the end of the Escape story. Yay. I think it was like the 7th word in the book, if I'm remembering correctly. The 7th word, Jocasta, somebody says escape in it. And I'm like, oh, God, I forgot about the stupid escape. Oh, God, the stupid freaking escape. Great idea. Brilliant concept. All I remember from the escape right now that it's over, is the controller was somehow involved. He usurped it. There were a whole bunch of trolls seemingly mimicking Dan Slott's run on Twitter. Jocasta is an extreme SJW platformer who's just, she's a jackass when she talks. And Tony Stark's parents were involved, and there was a so-called drinking fiasco where they faked us out with the demon in the bottle thing. I don't really recall much of anything else that happened with the Escape. I remember that Valerio Scheide drew amazing battles. I don't know why half of those battles were fought. I don't know why any of those battles were fought for the most part. I've got a general idea of the concept. That's it. It was a hot mess dumpster fire, as Brian Michael Bendis would say. It was a wreck. It was a damn train wreck. It was terrible. We're still going to get more of it, though, and I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. Here's one of the things where you can see Jim's, and I hope this is not just a placebo effect. It might be. This is one of the things where one of the ways you can see Jim Zub's influence coming in on this. A lot more of this was focused and grounded in this issue. I mean, like, you really felt it in this issue. You felt that things were starting to be tidied up. Tony Stark starts to recognize, finally, that he's not really him. This is a brand new body. This is not his original organic body. He's homegrown at this point. You start to realize that all of his memories were manufactured. Strange, because he's having that crisis right now, but he tried to do exactly that with Friday. And this is interesting. Jocasta turns around and says, no, you can't do that. Shouldn't Friday be able to make that decision? Like, Friday died, but we've got a week-old backup file of Friday, literally from last Friday. Nice reference to a Chris Tucker and Ice Cube movie. But I mean, why does Jocasta get to decide? Why does Jocasta get to decide everything? This is what I mean by she's an extreme SJW. I understand that a lot of people who believe in social justice, I believe in social justice. I don't want to take the SJW moniker. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to take the names, the titles that people who have a problem with me and what I believe want to attribute to me. It's childish. It's nonsensical. And we've got a word for them too. It's called racists. And the funny thing is, people like that don't understand they're racist. But that's racism, classical definition of the term racism. Do you want equality? Oh, we've already got equality. When we clearly do not have equality. In fact, it's systemic. What does that even mean? You are willfully and woefully ignorant. I don't know which is worse, willfully or woefully. But it's bad, and you're a racist. Sorry, I genuinely hope you get better. I'll pray for you. Thoughts and prayers, buddy. Thoughts and prayers. But at the same time, Jocasta is one of those annoying SJW jackasses who gets on Twitter, doesn't really know what the hell he or she is talking about, but wants to platform and be the one and publicly call people out and things like that. Dude, just, oh my God. If this is the diaspora that Dan Slott is trying to show, he's doing a great job of it, because Jocasta actually pisses me off. Like, I read this comic book and I get a little hot under the collar. I'm not even wearing a collar. Get a little hot under the collar reading what she's got to say. Like, oh my God, will you shut up and freaking think before you speak? For crying out loud. Everything is a platform. Everything is a damn lecture. She doesn't know how to just talk to someone. Everything's a lecture. Everything is you don't know anything. And yet you haven't told me anything. You haven't actually cited anything. You haven't given me anything. You haven't broken ground with anything. You've got nothing. You've got nothing. And Jocasta is genuinely pissing me off at this point. And I love it. I love it. I love it a lot more if it actually goes someplace. Because right now, I imagine where this is going to go, where it's going to be a learning experience, where she starts to realize that maybe she doesn't have all the answers. And what a great story that would be. What a great story it would be if we really start exploring this demon in the bottle aspect, the idea that Tony Stark is an alcoholic, which we got a hint of towards the end of this. And we actually had a tie-in crossover with Kelly Thompson's run on Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel is going to appear in here. And I know that Captain Marvel is going to have a hell of a problem coming up pretty soon in her book, where she could easily start trying to fall back into alcoholism. And here's these two people who really just don't like each other very much. They had a civil war against each other. They were both written very much out of character, but it is what it is. There's a lot of potential here, and I really genuinely hope that none of this is wasted. A 4-issue, like 2 issues of Iron Man, 2 issues of Captain Marvel crossing over with each other with some great writers, like the 3 writers writing these 2 comic books. Oh, hell's to the yes. I'm sorry, would anybody object to that? I wouldn't. I'm down for that. I would love to see a collab. I would love to see some kind of a collaboration where they really explore Demon in a Bottle. You know what I'm saying? It could be better than the original Demon in the Bottle. Just build off of it. You know what I'm saying? And give it more time to breathe, like a good Chardonnay. Hey, Tony, like a sip? This could be something amazing, and I really hope it just even slightly moves in that direction. But there's so much content here to write about, and it'll give me a whole hell of a lot more to talk about. Anyway, guys, here's to... I'm acting like I drink. Here's to... and like, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I love the idea of Tony Stark and Carol Danvers getting together. Because I understand what it means to need to stay away from alcohol and things like that. You know, like, this is that addictive nature. Alcoholism, it is a disease. It doesn't go away, and it's hereditary. You know what I'm saying? Like, it genuinely is. This is potentially, I don't know about groundbreaking, but it's potential to be groundbreaking. And I really hope it goes in that direction. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.